spread the word. The JCPenney Friends and Family Sale is back. And this week, we're passing the savings on to you. Use your extra 30% off coupon to prep your home and style your family for Easter. That's extra savings on top of our great low prices. Plus, share your coupon with everyone you know and love. It's always better when we save together. JCPenney. Make everybody count. Offer valid 3/11 through 3/17. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell.
Hello guys and welcome back to the Magnificent 247. We are joined today by my co-host Killian, Chase, Daz and Faze. I'm sure we're going to be joined some more later on. How are we guys? Welcome to the pod this week.
Right, lads.
Very well, Jono.
Very well.
Emotional.
Yeah, we'll get. Yeah, it's been an emotional few days. We'll go straight into that. So, the legend, survivor of the Munich air disaster, World Cup winner, European Cup winner, FA Cup winner, won the European Cup 10 years after the disaster of the Munich air disaster. But Charlton has passed away yesterday. I'll go to you, Killian, first, and then you send it around people, and I'll end.
Yeah, so very sad day for football yesterday. Specifically Manchester United Football Club. We lost. God rest his soul, Sir Bobby Charlton. A universal footballing icon. Parallel to those of our Georgie Best, Pele, Maradona, Socrates, and the list goes on. A legend of the game, obviously. One of the best footballs ever seen. And a hero in every sense of the word. When you think of Manchester United Football Club, Sir Bobby Charlton's name always enters your mind, just automatically. When you talk about England legends, Sir Bobby's always in the conversation in terms of the best that ever was. I truly believe he was the best and will always be the best that England has ever seen, in my opinion. Such an amazing player, but more importantly, such an amazing human being. A tribute to who he was as a person. Never sought the limelight. In fact, he tried his best to go unnoticed, which tells you really who he was. A Manchester United and England legend in all aspects and a hero in the eyes of all Manchester United fans, and rightly so. An eternal Busby babe now. May you rest in peace. And that's we'll Chase. We'll hand it over to yourself.
It's hard. You get choked up because this man was not only Manchester United football. This man was English football. He breathed and lived excellence, demanded it in every aspect of not only football but life. And he was that type of person, very rare, that when you're in a room, you're sitting down, you're eating, you're doing whatever you're doing, and he comes in, you stop what you're doing, you look at him, and you stand up. That's the person he was. And he never demanded it. And he survived a disaster. And we love you, Bobby, and rest in peace.
Well, very well said, Chase. Very emotional, of course. Dazza, will hand it over to yourself next.
Yeah, like you boys have already said, it's so emotional. I've got a couple of stories about Bobby Charlton. If you don't mind giving me a couple of minutes, I'll tell you. I'll tell you them. Happy to tell anybody them.
We'd love to hear it.
So the randomest meeting you could probably get. So 2008, we're in Russia, European Cup final. I'm with Paddy Kerrins and Lou McCarry for 3 days. And we're standing outside Lenin's tomb in Red Square, outside the Kremlin. And Bobby Charlton is walking by us with his bonnet on, so nobody knows it's him. And it's actually Norma that Paddy sees. So he goes over, Norma, come over. And the next minute, I'm standing next to Bobby Charlton. And I'm like, what the actual hell is going on here? And you know, I think it was, I couldn't remember when I was telling this story yesterday who was with them. I think it was Lady Norma's sister, but I'm not 100% sure. There was another lady with them. And we ended up going to a coffee house next to the Basilica, next to, you know, the cathedral, St. Basil's. We're in a coffee house in St. Basil's. Me, Paddy Kerrin, Lou McCarry, Bobby Charlton. And I'm sitting there, and it was so surreal. And I put this in my post yesterday. I've been very fortunate when I was young. I've met a lot of United players. I met George Best when I was a kid. I met a load of them, Beckham. I met a load of them, and never get starstruck. I got starstruck that day because it's Bobby Charlton. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go on holiday to random places, Mexico, Bulgaria, all that kind of stuff. And you wear the football top, and there's no language, and you just say Bobby Charlton. And that, to me, that's the testament of Bobby Charlton. He is the name Bobby and Charlton was synonymous with English football. And I've not got the words or the platitudes to cover that guy. I mean, the best quote for me is from Sir Bobby Charlton, where he says the only player he felt inferior to was Duncan Edwards. You think of the players that guy played with, and that was the only player he felt inferior to. I just think we throw about legend and GOAT and all this kind of nonsense, right? Really easily these days. This guy could play anywhere. Left foot, right foot, head, an engine, cover every blade of grass. Honestly, we were so lucky to have him play for us. But yeah, I don't have probably the correct words to say for him. I told a couple of the boys today, I bumped into Archie Knox this morning, and which again is random, right?
You've met some men.
Oh mate, honestly, crazy, right? And he was telling me the day that, you know, if it wasn't for Bobby Charlton, he strongly believes that him and Alex would have been out of job long before they were even thinking about putting them out of the job. And that's all I kind of said. But yeah, just a really sad day for the club, sad day for English football, sad day for world football. Yeah. You know, I'll hand it back.
Yeah. Beautifully said there, Dazza, and thanks very, very much for sharing that special story there, bro. Nice one. Faze, over to yourself.
Yeah, evening, chaps. Dazza, you've just lived out, I'd say, at least a few million people's dreams there, mate. That is incredible.
Mate, it was madness. I've seen you the picture, right? You've seen the picture.
I can, honestly, I'm envious, but feel a bit proud as well. But yeah, that's incredible. I mean, look, all of you guys, have nailed it. And I remember, I think we were on a call yesterday briefly when the news broke, and it was really somber. It was really difficult, wasn't it? It was an atmosphere that can't be replicated. The game was inferior because, as you've all said, Sir Bobby Charlton is one of the very few people that actually is Manchester United. He literally is the fabric of this football club. In my opinion, one of the greatest sportsmen of all time. For what he went through, for what he's achieved as a player, it's just truly remarkable. A story that I'll be told 1,000 times over and over again and never get bored of hearing. He lost his friends in his early 20s, and with incredible resilience, he won the European Cup and the World Cup. I mean, it is incredible and a testament to who he is. But yeah, my thoughts go out to his friends and family, because to me, Sir Bobby Charlton is an undisputed legend of the game.
Yeah, beautifully put there, Faze, as per usual. Back to yourself, Jono.
You've all put that brilliant. It's such a sad day for the club, and the way I'm going into this, if you compare Bobby Charlton is mad. He fighted for that. He fights for that. He fighted for that badge and for that England badge. If you compare it to these players nowadays who just throw themselves under the bus, throw the manager under the bus and all that, he didn't do any of that shit. So he knew what this club was about, and he is Manchester United, and I think he's probably, if not the best player we've ever had. I'm going to go that far. Very sad day for the club.
Indeed.
So
I don't think you'll get much opposition with your thoughts there, Jono. Honestly.
yeah.
There's no words to describe the man. There's no words. Yeah. You can't find the words, because it was just something out of this world. This man was, what he brought not only to football, but humanity in general. This man was a legend in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
The definition of Manchester United, a hero in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
Special person.
We are now joined by Phil as well, who is freshly from Old Trafford yesterday. So we'll go to you now, Phil. Sad day for the club. What's your thoughts?
Emotional. It's just a bit weird, because I was at that do on Friday night, which literally was celebrating basically the Munich air disaster, and you kind of think, well, while we're there celebrating, we were losing him, and it's just kind of, he was the type of person that embodied Manchester United more than anybody else at that club. And it's not just his on-field stuff he done, it was the off-field stuff as well. He literally lived, breathed that club, and to go into that wreckage and being pulled out by Harry Gregg at 20 years of age, and then come back and play all his games as if they were for his mates. And let's not forget, he was a midfielder, and to score 249 goals in 700 odd appearances, you don't see that being replicated. I mean, the only one that comes close is Frank Lampard, but you will never see that ever again in a football game or a football period. And I look back now and thinking, we celebrated Jimmy Murphy the other night with a fantastic poem that was read out, and he was one of his boys. And it's just, I just can't see anybody else in the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years being anywhere near Bobby Charlton's level. And it's just such a shame, because you just seem to think that they'll just go on and live forever. And you look at the current crop of players that we've had, excluding Cantona, obviously. You don't see anybody in his stature at all, and it just feels like a part of Manchester United has fallen this weekend.
You're so right, Phil. You're so right. I mean, I think Gary Neville said something really poignant last night. I know some of your boys might have seen. I only caught up with it today, but he said something that really struck a chord with me, that Bobby Charlton was a thread to the past. He was a thread to the glory days, a thread to the standards. And I think a lot of fans are upset and really emotional because we've lost that now. We've lost that thread to the babes, to Busby. We've lost that now. And it's about saying to this current crop, right, come on, which one of you is going to pick up the mantle? Who's going to take it on? Bobby Charlton went through a plane crash, lost 8 of his pals, and come back and put the club on greatness. So let's have it, you know. And it's just when Gary Neville said that, really struck a chord with me. We've lost a thread to the past, and I thought he's nailed that. He's absolutely nailed that. And you know, we probably need people like Gary Neville, and some people don't really like him.
Beckham's comments as well. Beckham, I don't know if you saw, if anyone has seen the tribute by Sky Sports, best tribute I've seen.
It's incredible. I teared up.
It made me cry, that video. Make sure you check it out, guys. I'll put a link in the description below. But what a tribute! And Beckham's.
I think also not only do we feel we lost a part of the club, but we lost a part in us because he's a part of us.
Yeah. It was a part of the Manchester United jigsaw, and it'll never be the same in my mind, which is it's just heartbreaking. But no one lives forever, you know.
As I was saying, the comments by Beckham was he was my idol, Beckham, and he's my kids and grandkids' idol. And I think that's a good time to move on to the game from yesterday.
Yep.
So going over to you, to Killian. We got the win. It was difficult. Scott McTominay again turning up with the goal.
The boys on fire, mate. The boys on fire.
Why can we only score worldies?
Yeah, it's funny as well because an academy player scored yesterday.
Yeah,
you know, that for me was special for a number of reasons. But yeah, just yesterday reminded me a lot of when we had the Manchester Derby years back against City, and when we wore the retro jersey. It was I felt the players were very nervous yesterday. Obviously, there would have been a lot of pressure put on their shoulders. But the occasion aside, it's just sort of more of the same, isn't it? They're just.
I did think
there's no cohesion at the minute. It's strangers on a football field playing together at the moment. They just there's no.
I was hoping, like, after what happened yesterday, someone who, when we've all said it before, some of these players don't play for the badge, but when someone who did, and it was all he fighted for that badge, when he passed away, a club icon, you'd think the players would try and get a reaction from that and say, we're going to fight for this badge. They got the win yesterday, which is the most important thing, but it wasn't the best performance again, in my opinion.
It was poor. It was poor. But here, listen, the only thing I had in my mind yesterday was just get them 3 points for Bobby. Get the 3 points. I didn't care how we played before the game. In my mind, I was just thinking, just get the win. Performance, I don't care. I don't care what score it is, but just get the win, you know. And thank God Dalot popped that top bins, because let's be honest here, we didn't deserve to win that game. You know, we didn't deserve. I don't. It's even debatable whether we deserved a draw out of that game. You know, Sheffield United brought it to us, and we didn't start well. Everything I wanted from, like we talked about the pre-match thoughts. I wanted us to come out the blocks. We didn't do that. Sheffield United were gung ho at the start, and we were on the ropes for a while. But here, listen, we got the win for Bobby. I'm just so relieved because it was such an emotional day yesterday that I was afraid, because the players are under pressure at the moment, you know. And yesterday they would have been under under the microscope, you know, in terms of pressure. So it would have been quite overwhelming for them. I felt sorry for the players because I knew they would have been extremely nervous because of that pressure. And that's why I'm just so relieved we got the win.
Couldn't put that better myself. What about you, Chase? What did you think about the game?
Well, you know, I mean, we got 3 points, of course, and we got the 3 points for Sir Bobby, but it's the same thing we say every week. Same thing. They're not playing as a team. They're not playing as a squad. I mean, we're literally getting pummeled by Sheffield United, and they haven't even won a match, and they looked like they could have beat us. They had us. And I feel at the moment we're surviving a little bit on luck here. I mean, if it wasn't for Dallo popping that top bins, I mean, we could have said goodnight, to be fair. And, oh yeah, it was a great goal. Top bins, great goal. But if it wasn't for that moment, we could have said goodnight, and we'd be having a very, very different conversation here today. But as we say every week, mentality. Go out there, do it for Sir Bobby, put in a shift. Work hard. And at the end of that match, you should be on your knees, breathing, exhausted.
Speaking of being on your knees and exhausted, Harry Maguire, he was exhausted at the end of that game.
Harry, for me, I thought Harry did well. Very, very well. Harry, for me, from what I saw that match, Harry was the man of the match. He put in a shift. He put in that fight. Yeah, he may not have the best. He may not have the best technical ability, this and that. But hey, the man went out there and put in a shift, and put in work, and worked and worked it off the entire match. And that's what I was expecting out of each and every one of them.
Yeah. Couldn't put that better myself. And I'm going to go to FaZe. FaZe, what was your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Well covered by the other lads. The prerequisite for last night's game, after the news that came out, was to get the 3 points by hook or by crook. So on that aspect, I'll take the 3 points and obviously continue to commemorate and celebrate Sir Bobby Charlton's life. And it was a difficult one because I didn't feel like I could criticise enough yesterday, or criticise at all. So I have watched the game back, unfortunately, because it wasn't the best watch. And there's a lack of cohesion in that team that seems to be a very persistent trend. It's players that look like they're not enjoying or not able to play together. There doesn't seem to be a connect between defence to midfield to attack.
FaZe,
yes,
do you think there's any specific reason for that in terms of the manager's team selection, injuries? What could you put your finger on one or two aspects as to why there seems to be such a lack of cohesion?
The thing is, as a fan, and obviously as a backseat manager, as we all are, I always think I know what he needs to do next game. He needs to pop Mount on the right. He needs to do this, do that, and we'll be fine. And then he does go and do something similar, and it just still doesn't happen. So I'm not sure, Killian, and it's starting to worry me. I'm not going to lie, because you put off the first few games, and first 4 games, 5 games, 6, and now we're in the end of October. I don't know what it is. I know we've brought in a fair few players, but half of them are injured. It just feels like there's a real black cloud over the club. And maybe I'm overdoing it, but it just feels like we're having to huff and puff to get over the line in games. It doesn't, bar that Palace game in the cup. That was the only game where I laid back and put my feet up and watched United and enjoyed it. The rest of the games, it was always edge of my seat, worried, concerned, last minute winners or whatever it may have been. So, yeah, look, that's where I'm sure we'll deep dive into a bit more. But Harry Maguire, absolutely terrific. There's a record that I'm sure you guys might have seen that I want to share with that I'll end with, of course, on this particular situation. But 16 games since October 2022, Harry's been involved in. 15 wins, 1 defeat, 94% win rate, and 0.7 goals conceded per 90. I mean, that's some stat. Some stat.
You can't really argue with them stats. And in fairness, he acknowledged that in his interview for England, which some fans might have thought that was a bit arrogant, but the stats don't lie, in fairness.
Absolutely.
I'll try and argue
it. So while we're on that, well, if you don't, are you finished, Phase? We might move over to Desert.
No, yeah, absolutely, fire away.
Bang on. So you want to argue this, Desert? You fire ahead, brother.
So I'll talk about Maguire and then I'll talk about the game, right? So see the stat you just put out, Face. I heard that and I've done a wee bit of research myself and prep for this, right?
Debunking it.
Well, a stat can say anything you want it to say, right? So his win-loss stat is really distorted because if you look at the games he's played, he hasn't got any Premier League starts amongst any of the considered top 6 in the last 18 months. All those games are not played against considered top 6 teams. So that's the only thing I would say. Yeah, he played really well last night. And as most of the guys know, I'm the most optimistic Man United fan you'll probably ever speak to in your life. And if there's a way out and an excuse or anything to give the boys, I'll give them it. But yesterday, I was very clear I'm giving them nothing for last night. But you hear today that there is a sickness bug going along in the club just now. Let's have it right. 5 of that starting 11 wouldn't be Ten Hag's starting 11. Let's have it right. And I think the problem with cohesion all goes back to the fact that he's not got his team out there yet. And I don't think we're playing the football that he wants to play because his football depends on overload, wing backs, and he's not got his wing backs. So I think we're going to see this. This is going to be, we're just now we just need to get the points. Just get the points on the board, plod on and just get the points on the board, get the boys back and let him get his team out there and we'll take it from there. As far as the game, I watched the game back this morning. The only comment I'll make is I'm just glad we got the win. I'm glad a homegrown player scored the first goal and we scored a worldie as the second goal. Fitting Bobby Charlton's memory. I fear for next week, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Harry Maguire, he played well and I'll give him props for playing well. He's conducted himself tremendously. I think there's other players in the squad that would do well to look at the example that he sets, because you could argue that Harry Maguire's had it worse than anybody. He's been disrespected and shat on worse than anybody, but he's just got his head down, he's working away, he's doing what the manager says. And you know, there's a few players in that squad that would do well if we take from his lead. That's all I'll say about that on that.
Very well said, does it?
We're going to go to Phil now. Phil, what's your thoughts on the game?
For me, I didn't expect anything less. If you look back from the first game of the season, it's been a replication of week in, week out, even in cup competitions, barring the Crystal Palace one where we played against their B team. So it was no real great surprise to me. Again, lack of cohesion, but we've also got to look at Ten Hag. In his tenure for the last year and a half, 2 years, he hasn't had his starting 11 on numerous weeks. There's always something going on. There's always an injury. There's always a problem. We had to get rid of Ronaldo. There's an issue with Sancho. All the injuries we've had this season so far. And it just seems to me, under Eric Ten Hag, we've seemed to limp through. Apart from that period where we had a run of those games when Rashford came back from the World Cup, we've always seemed to limp through games. I don't have any confidence. And I'm not just talking about under Eric Ten Hag, I'm talking under Mourinho, Louis van Gaal. I don't have a confidence where I can say, right, we're going to go out and nail these now. We're going to get absolutely storm these. And it never happens. Now, I'm going to kind of replicate what Daz has said about Maguire. Now, I've made it well known I'm not Harry Maguire's biggest fan, but he's a player for Man United and I'll always support him and back him. But this record that Sky Sports seems to be spouting about, it's hidden under the games he's played. He's been shoehorned into a team when it's been, I don't know, the likes of Carabao Cup games, Europa League games, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, not the top six or the top games. He wouldn't play in them, so his record will look good. I just think we're not set up to play with Harry Maguire because he pushes up so high, and we're open to the counter. And it's shown last night as well at times. Our midfield was split open. It's far too easy. Now, I'm Eric Ten Hag's biggest fan, and I think we should stick with him. But on the back flip of that, I think we do City on Sunday. I really do. I think the occasion will get us through. There'll be a lot of charged emotion in the stadium. And I do think the crowd. I think the crowd will carry us through against City. City aren't the team they used to be, but that's just my opinion, and I think we will do it.
Yeah, fingers crossed, Philo. Very optimistic, but I hope you're right, brother. I just have a little message from one of our Mag 24/7 Reds, Benno. So he said. Unfortunately, he can't make it today, but he's popped me a DM and said, the boys do deserve some credit for getting over the line. That can often speak volumes, especially when a team is playing poor and it's so disjointed right now. So whilst we were awful yesterday, and we can all agree on that, we did get the win, and we scraped the win against Palace at the time before that. Was it Palace when we got the two goals in the last minute?
Brentford.
Brentford. Apologies, God. That's where my head's at the minute. So Brentford, like we scraped past Brentford and we scraped past Sheffield United last night. Like we are getting the 3 points now. Obviously,
Killer. We scraped past Nottingham Forest as well.
Yeah. But I know it's not the United we're used to. But we're getting vital 3 points. Let's be fair. It's still early days, and we're not far off fourth spot. And we're not far off top spot either. And we're playing awful. Like, I think we have to try and... I know we're very frustrated naturally, but I think we have to try and focus on the positives. And I know Philo touched upon Eric Ten Hag having to deal with so much stuff. It's like he's cursed. You can't catch a break, the man. And that's why I just hope and pray. I know we're not talking about the takeover, but I just hope something materialises in that aspect and he gets back to the hilt. Because I do believe it'll just run and run. If he goes, it'll just run. It's the merry-go-round since Sir Alex, of managers. But yeah, I don't want to go off too much off topic there.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you've put it all greatly. Well, we got the points, and I've said before, even Sir Alex Ferguson's team, he did win ugly occasionally, and you do. If you're not playing well, you do need to still get points, and at the moment we are. Talking about points, we've got a vital game on Tuesday night in the Champions League against Copenhagen. So I'm going to start with Killian and then go around the team. What our thoughts about the must win? We've got to beat Copenhagen.
Yeah. And one boy I will be focusing on is Rasmus Højlund, former player. I think he's going to rock up.
His brothers
on
play there as
Tuesday.
well.
Sorry?
His two brothers play there as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's gonna be an unusual family reunion. But I think I'm really impressed with Højlund, and I know Erik ten Hag got a lot of heat yesterday for taking the boy off yesterday. But in fairness, he's drip feeding him as well. And we don't. Let's be honest here, we don't really have a backup striker. So if he gets injured, we're absolutely screwed. So I think. Whilst at the time I was very emotional when he came off because I was thinking, what the hell is he coming off for? But I do understand we have that massive game, must win, as you say, Jono, on Tuesday. And I think in hindsight, he probably did the right thing, But I think
do you on Højlund? Do you feel bad for him? Like our striker, it's like the graveyard shift. They say. They don't get the service they need. He's such a good player. I think if he had, say, a Kevin De Bruyne, if he had the midfield and the support that, say, Man City would, if he was behind Man City, like Haaland, I think he'd be scoring a lot more goals than he is. And he started really well. But even we've got Martial up there. We've just struggled with that service to our striker.
Yeah, he's feeding off scraps, Jono. It's like honestly, he's feeding off scraps. He had one very good chance yesterday. He was inches away from a great ball into the back post from Anthony to Rashford, and then it came across the goal, and he was centimeters from it. But let's be honest, he's feeding off absolute scraps. I feel very sorry for the boy, but he is doing terrifically well. That goal that he scored against in the last game against Galatasaray, that was that. As soon as he scored that goal, when he ran from the halfway line, and with that and sprinted and burnt the defender and chipped it over, dinked it over the keeper. As soon as that went in, I was like, that was Van Nistelrooy against Sol Campbell and Arsenal.
Yeah,
it was it epitomised that goal and mirrored it. And what a goal to score! But I think it's tough for him at the minute. He's 20 years old, but my God, he's a great player. He's a great prospect. So physical, so physically strong. Can hold up the ball, couple of touches, hits it out to the wing and sprints into the box. Makes great runs. I'm very optimistic.
He scored a hat-trick in international break as well.
Yeah,
didn't he?
Incredible. I'm really excited for the boy and to see him and what he can do for us in the next for the foreseeable future. But yeah, a massive game on Tuesday. Am I worried? I won't lie. I'll be very nervous for that game. But I think, again, like yesterday's game, I think it might be a difficult. It mightn't be the best performance on Tuesday. I think at the moment, as a United fan, I just don't expect anything, so I'm not let down. Because at the minute we just don't know what we're going to get with the team. But I think again we'll just get over the line on Tuesday and keep it alive. And I actually think I know a lot of fans after we got beaten by Bayern, a lot of fans said that we're done in regards to the Champions League group. I don't believe that. I think if we can just get a bit of momentum, more wins, every 3 points, and we just roll into the next game, I think it'll do us the world of good. And hopefully, bit by bit, we get the players coming back. And at the minute, as Dazza pointed out earlier, it's all about the 3 points at the minute.
That was a good point, though, of players coming back. What changes would you make for the Champions League game against Copenhagen?
I think I just hope that Reguilon is back at left back. I won't lie to you, Lindelof at left back gives me heart palpitations. But with that said, I think Harry Maguire has earned his spot in the first team for Tuesday at least. Yesterday for me was a captain's performance. I know he doesn't have the armband anymore, And we do know, I'm not the biggest fan of Harry Maguire, but he showed the rest of the team what heart and desire and determination and grit gets you. He left it all out in the field yesterday. I think he was the example yesterday that all the rest of the other players should be looking at for performing. Like it's the minimum requirement. Come off that field dead. And he looked dead after the game yesterday. I was proud of him. I'm so relieved for him, and I'm really happy because he's been lambasted from pillar to post by England fans, United fans worldwide. Like he's had such a tough time. So I'm so proud and so happy for Harry Maguire. So I hope he starts on Tuesday. I really hope we can get a clean sheet because I think Onana needs one for confidence, and the back five need one for confidence. So I hope
that's another great point. He looked a lot more confident in that game against Sheffield United. I don't think it's been spoken about a lot.
He actually played really well, Jono.
Played really well yesterday. Best performance I think I've seen of him. I think he looked a lot more confident.
Yeah, I won't lie though. I think the time has come for Rashford to be benched, in my opinion. I know we're going to probably come to this later on, so I won't touch. I'll just touch upon it now, but yeah, we'll discuss it later on. But I think Anthony. I'd love Anthony to start again. I think he needs the minutes. I actually think he played very well yesterday, and I think the reason he was taken off was because they're easing him back in again for minutes. So I'd probably start the same team as yesterday, bar maybe Rashford, but we'll discuss, as I said, we'll discuss that later on. Yeah, and I just hope Reguilon's back at left back. That would be I wouldn't make two changes. The two changes from yesterday would be Reguilon and Garnacho to come in, but we'll speak about that in a bit.
Yep. Next, we'll go to Chase. So, what's your thoughts on the Champions League game against Copenhagen, and what changes would you make, Chase?
I think Chase might be having technical difficulties.
We'll go to Faze. Faze, what's your thoughts on the game against Copenhagen on Tuesday, Faze, and what changes would you make?
Yeah, must win seems to be something we're saying every week. Two losses in our first two games, so it's I'm nervous. I'm slightly worried. I think we just need to somehow, by hook or by crook, again, just get a win. I think Killian's right. I don't see it being a pretty game. I can't see us trouncing anybody. I can't see that coming, I'm afraid. So, in terms of how the game plans out, I think it's absolutely essential that we get some players in. I certainly wouldn't go with the same team that we seen last night, in my opinion. I'm hoping more than I've hoped before that Sergio Reguilon's fit, because I think we really lack a natural left back. It's having a huge detrimental effect to the way we attack, and it's quite one-sided. I wanted to see Mason Mount play last night. I know we didn't, and we got the win, which is fine, but I really want to see Mason Mount play. And maybe slightly controversially, I'd put him on the right. So I would definitely try and get him in. I think he was on great form. And then obviously you're looking at the middle of the field, and again for me it's a no-brainer. I'd play Amrabat and Eriksen, because I think Eriksen, you've seen at Galatasaray at Old Trafford when he came on, he was the difference maker, to be perfectly honest. He was
dictated the play, didn't he, Faze?
He did, mate. He's exactly that. And we know what he's capable of. And obviously the argument is he's only got 60 minutes in the tank.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then that's fine. Go on.
Faze, would you not start, after the last 3 goals in 2 games, would you not start Scott in the next game?
I wouldn't.
I know he was at fault for the goal yesterday, but he also he's got 3 and 2. Would you not?
I think to be honest, no is the answer. I wouldn't, and the reason behind it is I think in a European Champions League game, it isn't as much about kind of that brute force as much. I know he's been alive and rate in the box. He's been getting goals, but I'd definitely keep that as an option up my sleeve. I'd start with Eriksen, Amrabat, try and control the game. I think we need to start controlling games and playing it at our tempo. So yeah,
very good point there, FaZe. And actually, now that you mention Eriksen, he sort of changed the game yesterday when he came on.
He did.
Dictating the play.
He did. And I think he gets a lot of flack, and I was one of them. I was like, look, once we've got this, and this, and we won't need Eriksen. We make the odd cameo, but it's just shone a huge light on what we're really missing. Obviously, we're not going to go down that Frankie de Jong road again, but it shows... I think we're all a bit still flexing on that, but that just shows the way I think Erik ten Hag wanted to set up his team. But yeah, I think Eriksen's going to be pivotal, and I would absolutely start him. So let's see what happens.
Cool. We have now got Mr. Chase. How are you, Chase? And what do you think of the Champions League games on Champions League game on Tuesday? And what changes would you make?
It's going to be a rough one. It's a hard one to say because we have also City at the weekend. So I do see some changes. Obviously, I think what he'll do is I think he'll save Reguilon for the weekend. I think we'll have Lindelof back there. I think Evans and Maguire will stay put. And Dalot, I think that back four will stay put. I think he'll change it up at the weekend. But I would say I would literally like to see Mount and Eriksen in there to see what that combination would look like and can be. Because as we saw yesterday, when Eriksen came in, he really changed the match. And also having Garnacho, I would like to see Garnacho start over Rashford. I think Rashford needs to sit. And I think the problem with Rasmus is they've never played with a striker like that before.
Yeah.
They're not playing as a team. And when you have a striker who replicates the likes of Van Nistelrooy, and you've never played with a striker like that before, who's moving constantly, looking for the opens, and then you have some players like Rashford and Bruno who just throw it out on a whim, loses possession, doesn't lift his head up. Things like that can happen.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't have anything else to add, we will go to Daz next. Daz, what's your thoughts on the Champions League game on Tuesday, and what changes would you make?
I think the guys have echoed my own thoughts. I mean, we all know Erik ten Hag is not the type of manager that does wholesale changes. That's not what he does. He likes consistency. So I agree. I think the back five will stay as they are. I think he brings Eriksen in purely because Eriksen can't play against Man City. That's what will happen, I think. And I think
who do you think will get dropped for Eriksen, bro?
I think McTominay might get dropped, to be honest with you, because I know he scored last night, but everything else that he does in the game is I don't think it's up to what Erik ten Hag wants. I don't think Scott gives him what he wants. I know he's got a couple of goals and all that kind of stuff, but see if he didn't score last night, his rating would be low, I would suspect.
Yeah. Do you think there's any possibility he reverts Amrabat back to left back and brings in Eriksen alongside McTominay?
Well, that's a possibility, because I wrote down here in my sheet, right, that Eriksen will play because he can't play against City, but he needs the legs round him. So I think Amrabat may well revert to left back, because I think he keeps Reguilon. I don't think he's going to rush anyone back, considering everything else that's happened over recent weeks. I would love to see Garnacho start, purely because I think he deserves a start. I think Marcus needs a break. He needs to freshen his head a wee bit, I think. So let's see how that goes. But we all know Eric Ten Hag does not like major changes. I think Anthony, I seen glimpses of Anthony yesterday that I like. He's building his way back up. If he didn't need the games, I would probably rest Anthony tomorrow for Police Street, but I think he needs the games. He needs the games. And we'll talk about the City game later on, my thoughts on that. But like I said earlier on, see, when you've any club that's got the amount of injuries that we've got would struggle. They absolutely would. And to be 6 points off the top, and for us to be as bad as what we all think we are, then I'll take that. By the way, I'll take that.
It's mad. I've made a graphic showing the table, which Killian will tweet out after the show, and it's mad to think that we're 6 points off the top of the league. How bad?
I wrote it down here. We're 9 games in. We're 2 wins off top of the league with 29 games to go.
We're sitting
and half a squad come back.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. By the way.
Yeah.
Told you I'm Mr. Optimistic.
It can only get better, as we say.
Absolutely.
We'll
Phil,
go to...
what are your thoughts, Phil?
I think Eric Ten Hag's in a catch-22 situation with this one because, one, it's got to be won with another on the Champions League game, the derby on Sunday. I'll agree with Dazza. I think that you won't see any changes at the back, purely because we've literally got nothing else to place in there. Now, I made my feelings clear last night, which backfired on me massively. I'm not a massive fan of Dallo, but he's literally all we've got at the moment. So I don't think you'll see the back five change much. Other than I think you might see Johnny Evans switch out and Varane come in just to give us that extra security to get the win, or to at least shore up that defence a little bit more tight. So as much as I'm a fan of Johnny Evans, he hasn't got the legs for a 90-minute game or for a game as important as this one. We can't afford to lose this one. I think McTominay comes out with Eriksen slipping in. Again, Eriksen's not got the legs anymore. I think you'll see Amrabat there. For me, I wouldn't start Garnacho. And as controversial as this may sound, I'm a massive, massive fan of Garnacho, and I've watched him from the academy upwards. And I was so excited to see him come into the squad. But I do think that he's an impact player. As horrible as that sounds, whenever he started, he's had more of an impact from the bench.
Good point.
He's able to turn games on its head again. For an example, although he didn't stand against Arsenal.
He's rapid, isn't he? Yeah.
He's rapid, and people can't keep up with pace, and that injection of pace when it's 60, 70 minutes and everybody else is shattered, he changes games just a bit like Rashford did in his early days. So I would stick with Rashford, and I think it's an occasion for Rashford to kind of, right, this is kind of your last chance.
Do you not think that he might start Garnacho tomorrow though, because he'll go for the experience of Rashford in the derby?
No, I think what he's going to do is he's going to try and win the game early, in the hope that he can rest. He can bring off players in for resting for Sunday. Rashford, you can't drop for the derby. I'm sorry, you can't. I just think on an occasion like that, a youth player coming through the ranks for Sir Bobby.
We need his pace as well, Phil.
Yeah, and I think for the flack he's got, and I understand it. Don't get me wrong. I just think the derby is an occasion for a Rashford type player with the pace. Yeah. So I think Rashford does start on Tuesday. I think he'll try and wrap the game up as early as he possibly can. Now, don't get me wrong, Copenhagen are no mugs, but any team that comes to Old Trafford are no mugs anymore. But I think he'll try and wrap the game up within 60 minutes with a view, with one eye on Sunday's game, and I think you'll kind of see Højlund start up front, and then possibly bring Højlund off and bring the mannequin on within 75 minutes onwards.
For our viewers, our listeners, can you explain who you're referring to?
I think everyone will know who the mannequin is, to be fair.
Enough said.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think you won't see too far off what we saw yesterday with the lineup. I can't see Reguilón starting. I really can't, purely because he's been missing for the last 2 or 3 games. And I think if we wrap up the game quite early on, I think you'll start drip feeding those players on in preparation to get them game time and ready for Sunday, I think.
Yeah.
When's Mainu available for selection? Because he's back in training.
He's back in training, but again, I don't think he's the player that we can just throw in.
Yeah,
I really don't, because he's had no game time since pre-season. Yeah, and you can't just throw him in from the off. I don't think you'll see Maino for another 2 or 3 games yet.
It's like throwing someone into the Wolves. You don't do that.
Yeah, when's the Newcastle game in the Carabao Cup? That would be the perfect sort of opportunity to throw him in.
I think it's the 30th, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, so it's a few days after the City game.
Yeah, so I think that's the perfect occasion for Kobbie Mainoo to come in and get some minutes and get a bit of fitness.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone has said. I would start Garnacho over Rashford in the Champions League game, because I think, as bad as Rashford's been, I think his experience in that derby, I think he's key. I think he'll have a really good game in the Manchester City derby, which we'll go on to in a minute. I think we'll get the job done. Hopefully we can score some goals in the first half so we can rest some players. A lot of games coming up, so important few weeks. So we'll now throw it back to Killian to start the chat about the Man City game.
Yeah, so
sorry, Jono. Sorry, lads. I've literally got to drop off. I've got an early start tomorrow, but thanks for having me on.
Take care, Phil. Thanks for your input, bro.
Mind yourself, Phil.
Take care.
Mind yourself. So Man City, wow. Oh. It's difficult to be optimistic. Let's be honest here, yeah. As horrible as it is to admit and say they're the best club football team in probably the world at the minute. Although Kevin De Bruyne is injured.
They have fallen off.
Sorry?
The last month or so, they have fallen off. They've dropped.
Their form hasn't been great, but you touched upon Rashford there. So I actually think it would work to everyone's benefit if Garnacho started on Tuesday. And the reason I say this is because it could be a nice kick up the arse for Rashford. You'd imagine he wouldn't be happy if he was dropped. And if he was dropped, he'd like to make a point in the derby. So I think it could work well if Garnacho starts tomorrow. Rashford gets a bit disgruntled and channels all that energy and anger in the Manchester derby. And I think that might work out perfectly. In terms of Manchester City, of course, we're the underdogs. Let's not beat around the bush here. Expectations for Sunday, I don't have any, and I think that's the way we need to be. And if we can nick here, listen, it's a derby, it's a Manchester derby, it's a special one, because of the unforeseen events, unfortunate, that we touched upon earlier yesterday. It's a derby. Form goes out the window in a derby. You know, all it takes is a chance or two. You just never know what's going to happen in a derby, and we have every chance being at Old Trafford. You know, we have every chance. We can do them. We can do them. You know, but we need to take our chances. That's one thing I will say. And we've been really poor at taking chances this season. It's been. Imagine if we had converted our chances, we'd be probably sitting near top of the table at the minute.
They scored 5 last night.
Yeah, you said it, bro. You know, and I think here, listen, expectations for Sunday, I don't have any. If we nick a draw, delighted. If we win, over the moon. And I think Phil touched upon it there before he left. he said he thinks we might do them. And here, listen, you have to live in hope. You have to live in hope. And why not? Why not? It's a game of football. It's 90 minutes. We can definitely outdo them in a derby, So fingers crossed for the win. I will say, I personally would drop Rashford, and for the reasons I just not for the derby. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I'd start him in the derby, but I'd drop him for Tuesday. The lineup, it's difficult to say. I think we need to be quite defensive. I think the only way we beat City is counter-attacking football. So pace, Rashford, the likes of Anthony or Pellistri. We need legs in that midfield. So Daza touched upon it there, leaving Ericsson out, which I'd agree with. I'd have Scott McTominay in there. I'd have Amrabat in, and I just pray that we have Reguilon back, because Rashford needs that overlapping wing back. He gets doubled up and tripled up when there's no one overlapping. Key battles. I think it's a big game for Rasmus Højlund, and I think he could have a massive say in how the result pans out. But I think the name of the game is just, if we get a chance, we have to be clinical. We have to take our chances. And I think that's where the game is going to be won and lost. If we can do that, I think we have again, the fans are going to be up for it. I think because of this week and what's materialised, I think Old Trafford will be rocking. And I'm optimistic now that Phil's said he thinks we're going to do them. He has it stuck in my head now, so I'm gonna echo that and say, yeah, let's fucking do them. Pardon me, French.
Do it for Bobby.
For Bobby.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Chase next.
Personally, I think we're gonna do them. We keep saying, let's lower our expectations. Why do we have to lower our expectations? We're Manchester United. We don't lower our expectations whatsoever, especially as a fan base. Never lower your expectations. And you know who I would love to see at the weekend against City? I want to see Hannibal. Because at least I know that kid's going to give me something. At least he's going to give me the fight, the fire.
Great point.
And I would sit Rashford. I know it's crazy to think, but
I'm surprised it's not be. I'm surprised none of you have mentioned
two players,
Hannibal for the Champions League game.
Two players I would sit would be Rashford and Bruno. Give me something different. Give me Mount. Give me Hannibal. Give me some kids that I know they're going to put that fight, especially against City. Give me Garnacho. I know what Garnacho is going to give me against City. He's going to give me the fight. He's going to give me the fire. And that's what I'm expecting on Sunday against City. Give me the fire. Do it for Sir Bobby.
Do it for Sir Bobby. Well, I agree. Yeah. And now we will go to Faith, Man City. What's your thought?
Manchester City. To say I hate them would be an understatement. So we'll move on from that. This is the one game that at Old Trafford where I'm always desperate to get one over on them, because it of late they've been a real noisy neighbour and overtaken our recent legacy. So it's annoying to say the least. But look, in terms of the facts of the game, we are miles apart. They're well ahead of us. Yes, they've had a dip this season. They've been particularly disjointed, but even so, my main worry on Sunday when we play them is that we don't get smashed. And I know that's a really, really, really bad mentality to have, but I'm petrified after what happened last season with it in a few games. I don't want to see us get humiliated at home. We're absolutely capable of beating them. And I think Daz might have mentioned before, he's absolutely hit the nail on the head. We can't play players like Ericsson in this. So this game is going to be about tactics. It's going to be about energy. It's going to be about aggression. It's going to be about ball retention. But it's going to be a different team. But yeah, I think we're capable of beating them, but I also think we're capable of taking a hiding, and that's my worry. In terms of the team selection, we need Varane, we need Reguilon, we need Casemiro, along with Amrabat. Rashford, I think he has to start that game. To be perfectly honest, I think he is Mr. Derby. I just think his experience, his know-how in that fixture gives him the edge.
Yeah, he knows what it means, FaZe, as a
exactly,
man.
mate. Yeah, exactly that. And that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
And Rasmus Højlund, and you've mentioned this a few times, Killian. I really think this could be one of those games where he introduces himself. Yeah, where he's been feeding us scraps. He's really playing his back to goal, hardly getting much service. I think this could be the real one. And don't be disillusioned. City haven't been great, right? And they got a red card yesterday, and they're struggling with formation. Pep's been tweaking it a few times, so there's an in for us. But I think we just need to see how we get on Tuesday night. Let's end that game and let's see what kind of players we've got available. So yeah, see where we go.
Beautifully said. And now we're going to go to Daza. Thoughts on the Man City derby?
Yeah, so we are underdogs. Let's have it right. We need to accept where we are. But with a puncher's chance, I think we've got a puncher's chance. But for it all to go our way, the key battles for me are the wing backs and central midfield. That's key, and that's why we need Reguilon. That's why we need Rashford's pace, Anthony, Dallo. Preferably would be Wan-Bissaka, but I don't think he's ready. But those are the key areas for me, because see if you can control the midfield, see if you stop Bernardo Silva. It's been shown this season. Don't feed Haaland. He's nothing. He's got nothing else. He's got nothing else. So if you stop the supply line, you stop him. But yeah, it worries me. I think the older Man United fans will tell you, I remember when Sir Matt Busby died, and we played a really poor Everton team after his funeral, and there was a lone piper that piped the players onto the pitch, and we were terrible. The players played the occasion and not the game, and it worries me that that's what happens again, because let's have it right, it's going to be brutal next week. It's going to be after his funeral. There's going to be all this stuff before the game. It's going to be really emotional, and the players need to have their heads on the game. And unfortunately, when Sir Matt passed away, that didn't happen, and a really poor Everton team turned us over at Old Trafford. And I just worry that the players. I don't think, and that was a really good Man United team. This team are nowhere near that Man United team, and I just worry about the occasion, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's my thoughts. The midfield's key. It's really key, and so is the wing backs.
I think all great points there, Dad. One more point. I think the fans are going to be huge. We need the voice. We need the 12th man in the derby of all games, and I
think you'll get it on Sunday.
Yeah, you'd imagine so, and hopefully, if they can make enough noise to get the boys buzzing, which I think they will, it could spur us on to a great win and a great day. Fingers crossed.
I'd tell Amrabat just to sit on Bernardo Silva. I just tell him to sit on him. Anywhere he goes.
I think
he's a supply chain.
I think that's the biggest thing here is the fans. Get it rocking from the start. Right when they walk out on that pitch, get it rocking. Get them pumped. Get everyone in that place ready to go. And that's a big thing here as well is that midfield. Look at their midfield right now. Who do they got? They don't have De Bruyne. They have Bernardo Silva. You shut down.
They're really missing Gundogan.
You shut down. I'll say this: the biggest thing of why City was so successful bar De Bruyne, was Gundogan. Gundogan was a special midfielder for that City squad when they were just pummeling everyone. Everyone looked at De Bruyne. Everyone looked at Bernardo Silva. Nobody looked at Gundogan. Gundogan was the drive of that
He was
squad.
especially last season. He was unplayable last season.
To be fair. And they don't have De Bruyne. They don't have Gundogan. They're surviving off of Rodri and Bernardo. We shut that midfield. You shut Holland. Because as we've seen so many times, how many goals? I mean, if they had De Bruyne, now Holland would be on 10 plus. Easy.
I actually think, Chase, the player to look out for rather than Haaland is Julian Alvarez.
Oh, 100%.
I think he's one player we would need to. Speaking of shutting down, he is a great player, and we need to make sure he's maintained.
I think that's the biggest thing here as well is the double juggernaut. When Holland's not going and working, they go to Alvarez, and as you've seen, when they're playing together, him and Alvarez, you don't know who to take down because you have a double juggernaut, and you have to watch out for Alvarez and you have to watch out for Holland. And Alvarez, to be fair, for me, is more of a complete player than Holland. Holland's just that one you give it to 5 inches in front of that box, it's going in. Alvarez, you don't know what the kid's gonna do.
Yeah.
He can hit it from outside the box. He can hit it with inside the box. He can do it with both of his feet. He's creative. He's quick. That kid is something.
I would also add, boys, that I think it's set up and made for Rasmus Højlund, young kid up front, come of age, take the club on. You're the main man. He's not number 9, but you're the number 9. Let's feed the boy. We need to get the boy in. But he's a special talent, the kid, and I've got no worries with him at all. I've got worries about other players, but I've got no worries with him. He's an absolute beast of a player.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just the occasion worries me.
Yeah.
Because it will be somber. There will be a minute's silence before the game. So
would you? You touched upon it there in respect to it being such an emotional derby. Would you hypothetically not start the academy players such as Rashford, such as McTominay, because they know, you see, for them knowing how important this game is could be to their detriment.
Yeah. I mean, you would like to think that they're all know what it's about, you know. I mean, look at it. When Matt Busby passed away, we lost that game. The Munich Memorial match, we lost that game. And I know it's different teams and stuff, but it just worries me when players don't play the game, they play the occasion. And I think the staff will be drumming that into them. In terms of young players, academy players, I mean, McTominay has got the right mentality. Garnacho's got the right mentality. So I wouldn't worry about them at all.
Yeah.
There's a bit of me that thinks, you know, fuck it, throw them in. Do you know what I mean? Because they will go hell for leather. Hannibal, that kid will go in there. He doesn't care who he's playing against. No. He'll put them up and down the park. So there's a bit of me that thinks, do you know what? What have you got to lose, Eric? What have you got to lose?
As long as if Hannibal does play, as long as he doesn't let the red mist overpower his mind, and because the last thing we need is a red. Yeah, huge fan of Hannibal, and a great point. I must say he's one of those players that if you're in the trenches, as Keno puts it, I'd have him beside me, because you know what he gives you. He gives you aggression. He gives you a fight, and that's what you need in a derby. You need to be down these City players' throats when they have the ball.
Stick him on Bernardo. Bernardo.
Yeah.
You follow him all over the park.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably got a bigger engine than Bernardo, you know.
Yeah.
But we all know that Ten Hag, that's not how he operates, man.
That's the thing.
He'll go to the tried and tested where he can.
Yeah.
Because he's got to protect his job. Because like Faye said earlier on, I don't want to get turned over big time. Losing a game, you lose the right way, but turned over. It's not a good look. Not a good look
And,
at all.
you did touch upon it there. You just mentioned that he is under immense pressure, and I won't lie. I saw him yesterday towards the end of the game on the touchline, effing and blinding and telling the players to get back. That did look like a manager under severe pressure in order to get us over the line yesterday and scrape that three points. He did look like a manager that knew that he needed these 3 points so much, because if he hadn't got them 3 points yesterday, the pressure would it's snowballing. And I feel for him. But yeah, fingers crossed for Sunday.
Yeah, definitely, and I think you've put it all great. I think I'm going for a win as well. I'm going that Højlund is going to outperform Haaland. He's going to get a hat trick against Man City.
Is he going to produce a Rashford against Demichelis when he burned him and then popped it in the corner at the Etihad? I think it was Joe Hart at the time.
Yeah, it was Joe Hart. Yeah.
Joe Hart.
Yeah. If he can
Great
do something like that on Sunday, he'll immortalize himself amongst the United fans. So fingers crossed for that as well, bro.
What a moment that would be. What the scenes if that were to happen? I mean, just what emotion that would be on such a huge day.
Yeah.
And I think from what I'm seeing from this kid, he rises to the occasion. When he has the ball at his foot, he rises to it. The strength that this kid has is amazing. I mean, and not only the strength, but when you saw that move, when he scored that against Galatasaray, that was just a little insight to what he can do. I mean, the speed that he's got is amazing.
It was, you know what? That game was gut-wrenching, and I'll tell you why, because the plaudits on the back of the papers should have been all about that performance. That was a number 9 perfection performance from Raza. And that goal was insane. It was a worldly, unbelievable individual goal. But of course, we disgracefully lost that game, and everything went under the carpet in terms of his performance and goal. But I don't want to go too much off tangent. I know you're in the middle of talking there, Chase, but I think we've forgotten how big this game on Sunday could be the catalyst for our whole season. Because remember what happened last season against Liverpool? It was our catalyst. We were terrible, and this brought us to life, and it got the ball rolling for the season. So this could mirror that.
I feel like this could go two ways, right? Detrimental and kill us detrimentally, and we fall apart. It can go one or two ways within the spur of seconds, and it could rise up, and it drags us to a great season. And I feel like with this match this early at home, the fact that Sir Bobby has passed on, this could be the catalyst for the rest of the season. And
I agree. And as I said, I'll get Killian to put the graphic out later. But just think, if we do it on Saturday and get the 3 points, we're 3 points behind City.
That's
I'll throw this out to you, good boys, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we played 2 up top against them and 3 centre-backs and flood the midfield. I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
That would be, that I'm telling you now. And the 2 up top, I think, would be Højlund and Martial.
And Rashford off the left.
I think Ten Hag really likes Martial. I think he likes what he gives him in terms of running in behind and holding up the ball. Ten Hag loves him. I know we don't, right? But Eric likes him.
Yeah.
When he's fit, I've always rated him. But
if that happens, do you think? Apologies. Go ahead, John.
I've always liked him, and he has had a few great seasons, but it's just his fitness levels. I think if he could have been such a great player if
He should have been, Jono.
if he didn't have his injury record.
I think that's the problem. I think the medical staff really did him wrong because he's come back with injury after injury, and it's really detrimented his career. But when this kid is on the ball, he just has that magic at his foot. He really does. Very, very slow, very methodical. Knows when to make those moves. Not a lot of people see that in this kid. But when you really look at him and what he can offer, he really does. He has those techniques that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
And when you combine it, if you can combine that with the likes of Hoyland, you have a double juggernaut right there. You really do.
Because Martial drops deep, Hoyland goes top.
Mm-hmm.
It's an arrow.
Do you think if that is the case, it's a good prediction, by the way, but do you think if that is the case, do you think Bruno will be sacrificed for the right wing then again?
Possibly.
I think if that was the case, I'd sacrifice Bruno because I think Anthony gives you that defensive cover as well. I think it's very underrated what Anthony does off the ball.
I'll tell you why I say that, because Ten Hag said today, what I read today was he likes Bruno on the right. He likes what he gives him because he comes in, he adds a bit of fluidity. I don't like it. I wouldn't be surprised if we start out with something like a 3-1-4-2, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised, and really lots of moving parts. I mean, I think that's his ideal scenario, to be honest with you. If everyone's fit and he's got the team he's got, that's his ideal scenario. Overloads everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just to put my 2 pence worth into this one, sorry, Chase. I think it's a great shout that does it, but it petrifies me that does, mate, because effectively we'd be going toe to toe. And you know what? I don't think, as much as I trust Eric, I don't think we can even comprehend that at this stage. I think we need to do exactly what all 5 of us here think we're going to do, which is sit back, stay resolute, be aggressive on the ball and hit him on the break. And I think that is the only way Manchester United come away with 3 points. I could be wrong, but if we go toe to toe with Man City, wow, I am not going to.
When I wrote it down, FaZe, I pulled half my hair out.
You're looking a bit thin on top, brother.
But like, just thinking about it today, like, what would he like to do? And I think that's what he would like to do. I think if he had his full team, I think he'd love to go toe to toe. And see if they lost the game going toe to toe, there's a bit of me thinks, fair play. You went toe to toe with him, you lose the game. But
I think it's
I don't know. I fancy 2 up top. I have to tell you.
I think
I fancy the 2 up
as
top.
good as Evans has been, I think it's important that Varane's back for this game.
Yeah.
He's got to start.
I think if Ten Hag had his way, if you look at the way he runs his Ajax squads, the way it happened, the reason why Anthony was such a catalyst, the overloads. Him, Marzawi, overloading that entire right side, making sure everything was locked down. And when you're going forward, there's 2 overloads right on that side. And then there was another overload with Tadic on the left side. There was an overload in the middle. And that's what he wants to recreate.
He might be available in January, Chase. I'd be all in for him.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should be seeing in the near future when Ten Hag really gets what he wants, overloads, and go toe to toe with the Cities, the Liverpools, the Newcastles, and that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting to see. We need to go toe to toe with these squads, whether we lose, win, but hey, we win toe to toe.
Yeah. 100%.
Anyway, great podcast tonight, guys. We have got a little tribute video to show you about Sir Bobby. Make sure you stay and watch it. What a legend. Sad day. And thanks for watching the podcast this week.
Pleasure, dudes.
Social Podcast Network.